So this is Dr. Gregory Monroe. He is the superintendent of the Charlotte Diocese, and we're going to be talking to him today about how the pandemic has affected basically all the aspects of the Catholic schools and how it affects students and teachers as well. Yeah. So to start off, what college did you go to, and what did you get your degree in?
Well, thanks for having me here. It's great to be here. Excited to be part of this project. So I went to Christendom College in the Shenandoah Valley for my undergrad, and then I went to Marymount for a master's and Catholic University for a doctorate. So tried out a few different schools.
Yeah, nice. So how did you come working for the Charlotte Diocese?
So I'm really blessed. I've been in Catholic education now quite a while in different capacities. I've been everything from a campus minister to a computer teacher to a high school teacher, even worked at a Catholic college, Christendom College, as director of career services. And before I came into education, I actually worked on the West Coast and did events with UCLA, different places. So I've had a great career so far, but the best part has definitely been working with each individual school and just love being a part of Catholic education.
Gotcha. Okay, so we're going to start with the COVID protocols for schools. Could you talk about the process of getting schools back in session, and even especially when most public schools are still at home today?
So it's been a journey, right? It's been an all-in for all of us here in the diocese. And I came from Nebraska, so I worked in the central office and the Catholic Schools office in Nebraska. Came here last April and started my job June 1st, so right in the middle of the pandemic. And coming in, when we looked at planning and prepping for the upcoming year, we knew it would be unlike any other year, right? And what we ended up having to do was first say, okay, let's reorient on why we're even here. Like, why are we doing this thing, Catholic education? And when we looked at that question, we recognized we need to do, obviously, what is best for the future of our students who we serve, and what is best for their holistic education. In Catholic education, we focus not just on the academics and extracurricular, which are important, but we also focus on the spiritual development, the social emotional health. And we said that holistic approach means we need to find a way to be back in person. Yep. So in talking with our stakeholders, with our school leadership, we all came together and said, okay, we need to be back in person, and then it became a question of how do we make this happen? So so we put together a task force right when we hit the ground running back in June, and we brought in some healthcare professionals, school leadership, diocesan leadership, stakeholder, parents, and came together and said, okay, what are the steps we need to do? What is the research we need to acquire? And what investment do we need to make from a PPE side, from a personnel side, from enhanced cleaning? So what is it we need to do to make this happen? So that's how we started the journey. And then as each consecutive week went by in the summer, we started to look at data from other districts, other places in the world that
were back in person.
Were back in person and were successful. We actually had a summer camp program that we ran here in the diocese, and we put in place some of these protocols, some of these multiple safety protocols, that enhanced cleaning, the social distancing, all of that. And so we used that as a good pilot where we saw no COVID cases, fortunately, and that mix of elementary, middle, and high schoolers during summer camp showed us, okay, we can do this. We can make this happen.
Gotcha. Okay, so coming into your job in the middle of the pandemic, that was probably really tough. So before the pandemic, basically your job, it's like basically advising and like helping pick administrators for the schools, and just leading that avenue of the school district.
Yep. So my job as superintendent is pretty simple. I am a bridge between the bishop's vision and our school leadership on the ground level in the trenches. And my job is to serve the school leaders by being a resource for them, support to them, helping manage them, we have 19 schools throughout the diocese. So, we've got Bishop McGinnis right here as the tentpole high school for Catholic education here. We have 5 feeder schools in the Winston-Salem, High Point, Greensboro area. Another feeder partner school in Salisbury at Sacred Heart.
Yeah.
And then you go out west, we have a elementary school. Well, if you go all the way west, you've got Asheville. So we've got a elementary school there. We've got one in Hendersonville, and then the rest are down and around the Charlotte area. Yeah, so we were pretty widespread, and so my job is, okay, let's all get on the same team. We got to work together, especially if we're going to, as our tagline says, be safer, stronger together, and let's work together to make this happen.
Okay, yeah. So you obviously worked really hard to get the schools back in session, and do you want to talk more about why it's so important to be in school versus virtual, especially, or just being at home stuff?
Yeah, well, all the research, all the medical research, the APA, the CDC, just everyone says in-person instruction is the best.
Yeah.
Right, not that we didn't do a good job at the end of last year, pivoting quickly, being agile, doing that remote learning. I mean, you guys were a part of that.
Yeah, Bishop was pretty good about
yeah,
flipping the switch pretty quickly to online.
And I mean, you guys did a great job, the students, of everyone pitching in and making sure that everyone was able to keep advancing. But again, nothing can fully replicate that Christian community, that social community, that family atmosphere of being in person. So, so the research, our own mission, all that supports being back in person together. And that's why we said, okay, as long as we can do so safely, and all, the pilot, all the research that we saw showed that we could, as long as everyone was all in and we put in place multiple safety protocols.
Gotcha.
As long as we did that, then it was a no-brainer. We had to do it.
Yeah. So what kind of resources and did it take to implement and maintain this plan, and how the timeline for it?
Mm-hmm. So, as I mentioned, the summer was pretty intense to do all this, and we actually pushed the school year back. You were going to start, I think, around the 17th, then we said, okay, we're pushing back to, a couple of weeks, because we knew, okay, some of our protocols, some of the way we do things, some of the cleaning in between classes, it would have to look a little bit different.
Yeah.
So we needed time to invest in the teachers and getting them up to speed on enhanced cleaning protocols. But then we also needed time to also procure all the resources we needed. So from plastic shields to hand washing stations to, you all have the temperature checker.
Oh yeah.
That was something that, Mr. Brady
really helpful.
donated to us. So, so getting all those supplies together took a little bit of time. So at the end of the day, we invested close to $750,000 in safety equipment.
Gotcha.
And we said, this is important because this is what we need in order to stay open, to show the state and the districts, look, we're doing everything we need to. Mm-hmm. So there was that, and then we also invested on enhanced sanitation supplies.
We have new hand sanitizer.
New hand
every
sanitizer.
door.
Yep.
So just something. I got
Have you noticed it being different, some of the protocols?
Yeah, one of the things about in between classes, we have 10 minutes in between each class, so teachers can have time to spray each desk, and we all come in and wait a second, wipe them down. And the hardest part is about having to wear a mask all day. But it wasn't too bad to get used to, so it wasn't that bad. How do you think students have responded overall, and especially in middle schools? Because I know my sister is at Our Lady of Grace, and I know it's tough for them to keep masks and have kind of social.
The social distancing is tough because we're social creatures and we want to be with our friends. And how would you? I'll turn it back to you. How has it been different for you all this year?
Well, I think one of the main things is that our being able to socialize in school has changed a lot. From classes, we're all pretty spread out, and then lunches, that was really where we did most of our socializing. And now we're separated into smaller rooms, and we were only 2 at a lunch table. but we still managed to socialize and have fun through the year. I think another thing about the protocols is if someone in our class was to test positive, then everyone around them was to be out for 2 weeks.
Radius,
no questions asked. And the negative testing was I received a negative test like a week later, and I couldn't go back until the next week just for the safety protocols.
Yeah.
And that was something interesting that I thought maybe could have been. And we actually changed that now to where
The
it's
after 5 days,
yeah,
come
and
back
take
and
your
day 7.
test.
Yeah, and that's, we're 7 months in. We say, okay, we've been successful. We know what we're doing. We've got the data from our system.
Yeah.
So what can we do to start saying, okay, can we roll anything back? So we can talk about that in a little bit. What I do want to come back to, so you referenced a few of the different changes protocol-wise, and a few of the different things you all have had to modify or shift the time between classes. So each school, and you mentioned your sisters at Our Lady of Grace, so each school is slightly different, right? In the way they're set up, their student population. What was neat to see though is at the beginning of the summer, we got all 19 principals talking multiple times a week. And we said, okay, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it together.
Yeah.
And our office put together a template, a Safer, Stronger Together template and playbook for each school to look at, okay, here's our baseline of protocols you need to follow in order to make sure we can be back in person. And then you can tweak that according to what's appropriate for your individual school. So I would say about 75% of our guidelines across all 19 schools are the same, and then 25% of that is unique to your academic environment.
Yeah.
So that was pretty neat. And we also created, as we went into the school year and learned more, we want to show in-person instruction is the best, but we know that there would be times where we needed to pivot to hybrid or online.
A and B days.
A and B days, and you guys have done that, right?
Yeah, we did that for about a week, and then we got a few more cases, and we went all online for 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something where we put together this matrix, and the matrix had, okay, if you reach 1% of your student body that tests positive, then you move to hybrid. If you reach 2%, or you have a third of your school out because of quarantine protocols, then you move completely virtual for X number of days.
Gotcha.
And so that was a neat thing to see the high schools and our middle school back in Charlotte transition to, because it put an objective criteria and box around how and when to shift to those different modes of instruction. So it wasn't subjective. Everything we're trying to do is based on objective data.
Yeah, specialized to the school.
And specialized to the school environment. You got it.
Gotcha. Yeah, so this has been a really interesting year, and it's been tough on everybody. And have you noticed a difference in school environment or school what's the word?
Morale.
Yeah, morale.
Without like social events and sporting events, kind of.
Without them being as normal as they would,
Yeah.
Well, our goal was always, let's try to create as normal a learning environment as possible.
Yeah.
That's been tough to be completely normal, but that has always been our goal, is let's still try to find ways to do different social events. Let's still try to find ways to do our athletics and the arts and all those things that make education what it is. Right? The academics, those are really important, of course. The spiritual exercises are important, but also the extracurriculars, that's a part of us developing, even athletics.
Like leadership development.
It's leadership development, it's teamwork, discipline, all those things. I loved playing athletics because you've got a great community that is pushing you and keeping you on track, right?
Yeah.
So, if you want to play in the next game, you got to do certain things to stay on track. So,
Gotcha.
So we definitely want to start with finding a way for things to be as normal as possible. When you look at the reception to that in you can let me know what you think, but I've just found that a lot of people are just grateful to be here.
Yeah,
Like,
it is nice to be back in school, especially after,
yeah.
let's say, 4 or 5 months of just being at home. Yeah.
Definitely was a long time for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of my friends at public schools were talking about how, like, just being completely virtual, they've been having a lot of kids just not turning in any work, grades dropping, and then just like overall anxiety and issues going on with the school year. So it was really great that we were back in person.
Yeah, and that appreciation, I think, is translated to kind of this all-in mentality. Like, whatever it takes, we'll find a way to stay together, to stay safe, to be in person, because we know that there are other people that aren't as fortunate.
Yeah.
Like every school district, public school, other private schools, everyone has slightly different protocols and different resources. So I can't speak to what other schools should or shouldn't be doing, or what they can and can't do. I don't know their capabilities, but all I see is, okay, if kids aren't in school in those other places, you're seeing everything from depression to, we've seen an increase in suicide rates, this really tough stuff because we're not made to be isolated. We're made to be together and come together in community. So, so that appreciation, our teachers have been spectacular.
Oh yeah.
I will say there was a lot of fear when we first started this. And there are different teachers unions throughout the United States who were saying, oh, well, we can't go back. We don't want to go back. We can't go back till we have a vaccine. And even in our schools, we had a lot of those initial conversations because we have a lot of tenured teachers that fall into that at-risk category because they're older, more veteran. But what was really neat to see is that once we put our plan into place, our playbook, and talked to the teachers, we still had a few teachers decide, okay, this isn't the right fit, it's time to retire. I've got other factors at home, at-risk people I have to take care of, can't put myself in that situation. But we still, almost all of our teachers came back.
Yeah.
And across the diocese, maybe 1 to 2 teachers per school retired or decided not to come back. So that just shows again, our teachers and our administration and faculty, they all show that they're all in. It's all about the students, and it's a real mission for them. It's not just a job.
Yeah, gotcha.
So this like protocol and model you guys made, did you guys come up with it from scratch, or did you guys base it off of other models you guys seen?
That's a good question. So there was some great research out of Stanford that we looked at right at the very beginning. We looked at some schools in Asia that had come back successfully. And so we looked at those data points that they collected, and then we also looked at what the APA, and the CDC have put out as recommended protocols and guidelines, and what they were showing. We've learned a lot about how the virus spreads, and so everything they were saying was that young people were not at as high of a risk of transmission, of contracting the disease, and so all that gave us a lot of confidence to say, okay, yes, this is possible, and we have to do it for the good of students.
Yeah, I actually really want to give you props for the plan, because I was watching the news the other day, and they were going into a principal in one of the South Carolina districts, and they were talking about how they spent $5-6 million on plexiglass, like for every desk, and for all these random protocols that are just a little extra, and a lot of their plans are just falling down, and there's a lot of backlash over those plans, especially because every desk covered in a little glass box. Like she showed a picture from the back desk. You couldn't see anything in front of you. And
they were see-through or not?
Yeah, they were, but they had little black like beams right here, and there were 4 rows of desks.
Yeah, so that's tough.
Just seeing through,
Yeah. Well, and we invested in plexiglass too, because
we have a couple.
You've got
at the front to protect the teachers.
Yeah, so that's where again we were talking about 25% of that game plan that we put together, that was tweaked, modified by different schools. So we did invest a lot of money in these different safety protocols according to what each school needed, what they want, what would make the teachers feel more comfortable, the parents feel more comfortable. So, well, again, it was that juggling act or balancing act of try to create this normal environment so things look and feel normal, but also know, okay, we have to invest in what we need to in order to kind of keep things moving forward.
Yeah, we have the plexiglass in front of wherever the teachers would usually lecture from. They all have so they can take their mask off and continue. Yeah, so we can cut this part out. But the next question is going to be about rolling.
So I do think, as terrible as COVID has been, and we never would want to repeat the challenges that we've had this year, and we continue to pray for all those people that have been detrimentally affected, and we know that it's been a hardship for a lot of people, a lot of people in our community. We've been very fortunate in that, from a safety standpoint, from the beginning of the school year, we have only seen a 2% positivity rate across the 7,600 people in our school system. And it says a lot about our protocols, shows that the metrics in our school system are not the same as what we're seeing in the county or in the state or even in the US. So that says a lot about the success we've had. And the other thing is we've seen little to no school spread. The cases that have come out,
that as well,
it's been outside influx or contracting from somebody that came home from college or
visiting family.
Visiting family, And so that's given us a lot of hope and affirmation that we're doing the right thing. But all of this, there are some fruits that have come out of this. It's allowed us to reorient on our mission as educators, refocus on, look, everything we do should be for the good of the students across the board. Working with our parents, recognizing our parents are the first and primary educators of their kids. And so working in communion with them, we strengthened that relationship and showed, look, we couldn't do what we do without parent support. The technology that we've invested in and some of the new skills that teachers have learned to keep things going, both synchronous learning or the online component. Those are some skills where we've probably jumped about 5 years in the span of a year in that expertise. Gotcha. And you were saying that there have been some fruits and some good things that you've seen come out of this, right?
Yeah, definitely like teacher to student communication has been really good because everyone's really learned how to communicate virtually now. So yeah, that's definitely an improvement I've seen this year.
That's good. Yeah, because again, I think we need to do that, right, in order to keep things moving forward.
For sure.
Is there another?
Yeah. So we've noticed an influx of students based on coming from public schools because they're online. Do you think that that reinforces your plan and the plan for COVID and people really just were drawn to it and saw that people had figured something out and wanted to be a part of it?
I think you hit the nail on the head. Yeah, it was definitely attractive, right, to a lot of people. I think what we did see is a definite increase in interest and applications and people transferring to us. We had a good thing going here and people want to be a part of that. And a lot of those people that joined us may have been people who their parents were in Catholic education or they had talked about being a part of Catholic education in the past, and now this was kind of the tipping point, the push. So across the board, we've seen about a 2% increase in enrollment outside of the main Charlotte hub. And in Charlotte itself, we saw about a 4% increase. And we've had people come here for various reasons. But we've also really stepped up financial aid this year too. We've invested in financial aid, not just our normal financial aid. We have about $4 million in financial aid that we look to give out. But we also told people, look, if you have lost your job or you were at a certain income level and there was no way, shape, or form you could afford this. We set up a separate COVID fund for those people, and they had to apply and go through all the normal processes and make it objective and fair for everyone. But we just hoped that we were not going to lose people because COVID was financially challenging. So,
Gotcha.
So we always like to say Catholic schools are schools for all, and I think this year really reiterated that point. It doesn't matter what your ethnicity is, it doesn't matter what your faith background is, where you are in that faith journey, it doesn't matter your socioeconomic status. Come to us because we're a Catholic school family that will accept you and you'll be welcome. And so we've seen a lot of people coming in. We were still very careful not to pack classrooms, because we still had to keep our playbook protocols in place. But we got very creative. We opened up a new kindergarten section halfway through the school year down at one of our elementary schools in Charlotte. We opened up a 6th grade section at one of our middle schools. We found ways to bring in more teachers or expand into classrooms that may not have been utilized as classrooms in the past. So we did all of this because, again, we said, look, we're an awesome Catholic family. We love that people want to come and be a part of what we've got going on here. And so come and join.
Yeah, awesome. Gotcha. Maybe just another question. What's the process of picking our new principal for Bishop McGinnis, and how's that process going?
Yeah, so that's been another challenge with COVID, right? Is trying to find people. So we do have an invested process where in the fall we talk to all the stakeholders, student groups, parents, donors, faculty, staff, all those people that are important and understand and know Bishop, and alumni, and we say, okay, for the next leader of Bishop McGinnis, building on all the good things and traditions that you all have here. Bishop is such a unique place, as you know. What are you looking for? What's important to you? So we took all that data, all those questions, and we created just an overview sheet of what we were looking for. Then we connected with dioceses and recruiters from across the United States, found a couple dozen really good candidates, whittled that down to about 14 semifinalists, to 8, now to 4 finalists who are on campus. And unlike some other searches, we thought it was important for those finalists to meet with representatives from every group.
Okay.
So that way everybody has some buy-in. Everybody gets a chance to rate and grade those finalists so that the person that comes on board is someone who is truly a person that can serve everyone. So that's been a good process.
Gotcha.
The timeline with that is we'll wrap that up probably in the next week, and then Mr. Boschini, our interim, is going to actually work with them on the transition.
Okay.
So that'll be good.
Yeah.
Can I dial it back to sports and
Sure.
extracurricular? So how's the sports season going so far? Like how do things look a little bit different this year? And what's kind of the student perspective?
I mean, the really tough part is I'm playing lacrosse and football right now, and I got 2 coaches expecting the same thing out of me. That's definitely the hardest thing, but just if you dial it down to one sport, I mean, the coaches have done a great job of getting the practices in and doing a good job being safe and stuff. So yeah, don't you think they've done a pretty good job?
Definitely, and I think the biggest thing for me, it's not even really having to wear a mask playing basketball. Like you get used to it. It sucks, but it's what we have to do. But one of the things that was a little detrimental to our season that we noticed, especially the other day when we had our Mount Airy game, and our parents gave up their tickets to seniors who wanted to come. And
you guys won by 10 points, didn't you?
And I mean, the atmosphere was incredible, and it was a really great game, and that's definitely something that I missed, and I know my friends who don't play sports have missed, is being able to come out and
the student section and be a part of that.
Yeah, we'll definitely be able to tell difference during football too, without the fans really in the stands. That's when it's really gonna hit, make a big difference, I feel like.
So talk to me a little bit. So this sports season, like, 7 weeks.
Yeah, each season is about 2 months, 2.5 months, and then but each one overlaps for 1 month. So my basketball season has been going on for 2, and football started at the beginning of February.
Yeah.
And then now we'll see if we win today, then we'll make playoffs and we'll continue. But football is going to end about a month and a half from now, and my golf season starts in 4 weeks.
Okay.
So it's
a lot going on.
Yeah. So let's say basketball makes it to the state championship. I'm going to be going to that, and then I'm going to have football practice the next day, and then golf practice the next day after that.
Wow.
So it's just I mean, it's something that we had to do, especially because football having 22 kids battling it out and with no mask on, just it wasn't going to be able to be done, especially at the beginning of the year when everything was so unknown.
Yeah.
But I think especially since like everything's outside for football and lacrosse and soccer, that maybe we could, since we dialed back the school COVID protocol rules, maybe we could dial back the extracurricular protocol rules.
Is it worth it?
Well, I think especially like our field, if we, let's say, like basketball only had 25 tickets for parents. Let's say it's 30 tickets for parents. They're going to take up a quarter of the stands. Yeah. Like max. Just even if they're spread out, they'll just take up a quarter. Yeah. So there's plenty of room, and I'm sure if someone's sitting and making sure that they're not standing right next to each other, that everything could be done pretty smoothly.
I think so. Well, I meant, like, is it worth all the changes, and now you've got 2 seasons back to back?
I mean, yeah, I think so, especially for football season, because I mean, like, just it's gonna feel like a practice almost, because I mean, your parents are so far away. Like, I mean, yeah, you can hear them, you hear a go Villains or whatever, but it was something that football, like, when you're getting ready to start and everybody's getting super loud, it just adds to the to the drive to play, and makes it more fun.
Yeah. Let's see, what talking to your friends and such, like, what do they appreciate about this school year, about this experience? Like, what are your friends saying about everything that's going on?
To be real, my public school friends, they look at us and they're in awe. They're amazed. They see us going to school. They see us. They saw us going to school and then go to practice right after. They thought it was like a blessing. I remember some of my friends, they thought it was really cool that they could go to practice before school and then come back home and do online school. But for us, we're coming to school, going to practice, doing the protocols. All we have to do is just scan a little barcode, answer questions, and boom, we're ready to practice. Okay. And not just athletics, just everything pretty much. Just how much they care about getting the freshmen involved and everything.
Yes, great. It's been pretty great despite the circumstances.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How do you think it'll be going into next year? So you guys are graduating. So we're still trying to figure out, the graduation protocols.
Yeah, I actually have an idea about that. I was actually talking to Denise yesterday. She called me for like 45 minutes, but we were talking about graduation and how the school said that we are going to have a prom and going to have graduation, like, definitely. One of the things that I was thinking about is if, like, the Panther Stadium can have 20,000 people in it, then the Greensboro Grasshopper Stadium or the High Point Rockets or the Winston-Salem minor league, then their stadiums would be able to have at least 1,000 or 2,000. And that was something that we were talking about would be really difficult to do inside, because I think we usually have our graduation at the Carolina Theater, which can hold 1,000 people, but not during COVID protocols. So it was just interesting to see. I don't think for graduation we want extended family to come. We don't want it to be just our parents and maybe a sibling. So.
Well, we're supportive and trying to get creative. I think it's great you guys are thinking about that. I will say so we're one diocese high school here at Bishop, but we've got Charlotte Catholic and Christ the King, right? So they're all trying to do the same thing, trying to figure out, what's going to work, for like Charlotte Catholic, they've got a parking garage, so they're going to do their prom in the garage. It's going to be like they'll go top level and like decorate it up. So it'll be a cool way to do that.
Yeah.
So there's definitely something we can do. We just have to get our heads together and figure it out.
Gotcha.
Is there anything that you would like to see different or changed, as we go into the rest of the year, or is there anything that?
I mean, there's really, as far as the school day is concerned, there's really
school
nothing
day.
that's like bothering everybody or making it too much harder than it should be. I think, especially by now, all the teachers have got the routine down, and the students are used to it as well. And I think especially during the school day, we're doing really well.
Do you think academically you're ready for next year?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Okay.
for
Yeah.
sure. And if we were online, I don't know if I could say that same answer. But being in person, 100%.
Yeah, even just our 2 weeks online, it was hard, especially when everybody else was back in school and we were the only people. It was just like it was tough to. Because our basketball team had to quarantine for 2
I heard
weeks.
about that.
Yeah, and we also had to quarantine for 2 weeks actually.
It was easy to draw away from your academics when you're online doing all that.
Yeah, it's
And
tough to focus.
You're here, and then you're like, I'm learning, I'm doing my homework, I'm doing schoolwork, I'm still talking to my friends. It's like, it's pretty much just a regular school year, and it's amazing pretty much what we were able to do during 2020 and 2021.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kudos to you guys too, because if you guys weren't doing what you needed to do and weren't working with the teachers and administrators and Mr. Trey and all that, then
Would have been
it would be, we wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
So, we work with a lot of health departments, and they'll check in, and I'll talk to them and their directors, and I'll just say, look, everyone's doing what they need to.
Yeah.
So it allows us to push back on some of that. We have good relationships with them, but they'll sometimes ask us, oh, well, you're the only ones that are open. And we'll say, well, that's okay. We're doing just fine.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Any other questions or?
I got
No
the
idea.
online.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
As we're wrapping this up, two things that have come out of this. One, it's allowed us to really work hand in hand with our partners in this mission of education, and the first and foremost people and educators that we need to thank are the parents.
Yeah.
So the parents have been spectacular, working with them, saying, okay, in order to make this work, we have to have that true communion between both entities, and it's allowed us to reorient on why we're here as, a Catholic diocese, Catholic